Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is July 14th. The All-Star Week has come and gone. We're going to dive into all of that, and the second half of baseball starts today. Let's do it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. How are we doing today? It is Friday, everybody. I'm excited for this episode. I really am. This is either going to be my favorite episode or my least favorite episode. It's my least structured episode. I have a lot of talking points to go over. We're going to start with the All-Star Week and stuff, go through all those days, and then dive into some second half storylines. The trade deadline is coming up, so that's going to be a lot of trade talk over the next few episodes here. Who's going? We're going to definitely talk about Ohtani. I'm really excited. I don't want to make this too long, but I don't know how long I'm going to be talking about each point here. So without further ado, we're going to dive right in. We're going to start with the All-Star Week, and we're going to start with the Future Stars game. And it was the National League Future Stars who ended up taking this game. They were able to win it 5-0, and the MVP of that game was Nazmin Nunez, a Marlins prospect. He delivered a 3-run double and a stolen base. Of course, the National League was already winning 2-0 at the time. So the National League prospects took it. Some good pitching, some good defense. Obviously, this is probably the lowest point of All-Star Week. You know, it's exciting to watch some of the young talent who, for your team, who might be making their debut soon. But obviously, in comparison to things like the Home Run Derby, the MLB Draft, some of that stuff, the Future Star game does kind of sneak under the radar a lot of times for a lot of people. But congrats to Nunez, Marlins prospect. That 3-run double helped secure that game for them. They took it 5-0, and that's how we got All-Star Week started, I guess. Then the draft happened, and the draft was a lot of fun. We had a couple of really exciting things. If you play MLB The Show, they put some of the draft picks in the game like right away, which is really cool. For some of those people, you know, obviously for the kids who just did get drafted. I mean, this was a life-changing day for a lot of these guys. Going through those picks, though, we start with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They took Paul Skeens first overall, a pitcher from LSU. And then the Nationals followed that with Dylan Cruz, also an LSU guy, an outfielder. It was the first time in history that teammates were the number 1 and 2 drafts in the MLB Draft, obviously. So those LSU, they look good because of that. And so two teammates just coming off an LSU championship are now going to be in the same NL side of things, Nationals and Pirates. The third pick for the Tigers, they picked Max Clark, an outfielder. Texas Rangers with the fourth pick took Wyatt Langford, an outfielder. The Twins then took Walker Jenkins, another outfielder. The Athletics sixth pick, Jacob Wilson, a shortstop, the first infielder, was picked 6th. The Reds then number 7 pick, Reet Lauder, right-handed pitcher, and apologies if I mess up any of these names. The Royals, number 8, picked Blake Mitchell, a catcher, first catcher there. The Rockies picked Chase Dollander, a right-handed pitcher there. And then Miami, with the 10th pick, picked Noble Mayer, a right-handed pitcher as well. I'm not going through all the picks, obviously, but I just want to give those 10 guys a shout-out, the top 10 picks of the 2023 draft. An interesting pick that I also want to mention, Oakland Athletics, their second-round pick number 39 overall, Miles Naylor, a third baseman, and his brothers play for the Guardians, Josh Naylor and Bo Naylor. So now the trio of brothers all in the major leagues. Well, not all in the major leagues. 2 in the major leagues, 1 just getting drafted. But that must be really exciting for their family. I'm sure both Josh and Bo were really excited for their brother Miles. And maybe one day we'll see all 3 of them on the same team. Who knows? But that's just a quick draft recap there. And now everyone's favorite part of the All-Star Week, the Home Run Derby. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players as usual. I don't know why I did it like that. Luis Robert Jr. versus Adley Rutschman, Adolis Garcia versus Randy Arozarena, Mookie Betts versus Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and then Pete Alonso versus Julio Rodriguez is how we started the first round. 7 matchups. I went 6 for 7 with my predictions, so I was pretty happy about that. Starting the draft off, we had Adolis Garcia and Randy Arozarena. Obviously, the lower seed always goes second, so Randy started it off being the 5th seed, and he was able to club 24 home runs and beat Garcia, who then followed with only 17. So obviously, Randy being Randy, we all love Arozarena, so it was fun to see him hit some home runs there. He put on quite the show in the first round there. That followed with Adley Rutschman and Luis Robert Jr., and Adley was exciting. The Seattle fans definitely loved Rutschman. He spent the whole first round batting from the left side, and then for his bonus time, decided to switch to right-handed. The benefits of being a switch hitter, I guess. But unfortunately, Luis Robert Jr. was able to get him with an extra home run. He was able to walk off on Rutschman. Rutschman had 27 home runs in his first ever home run derby. Luis Robert was able to beat him with 28. Obviously, he didn't need to hit more, despite having a couple more seconds there. So they both moved on. Flipping the script to the other side, we had Pete Alonso and Julio Rodriguez. Last time in the home run derby, these guys matched up. Julio was able to dethrone the polar bear, and I thought that Pete was going to have his revenge, but boy, was I wrong. Julio Rodriguez broke the record for most home runs in a single round, 41 home runs for Julio. And man, Pete Alonso, he couldn't, wow, it was a tough watch. Alonso was only able to get 21. Julio hit 20 more home runs than Pete did, for definitely the biggest gap between home runs this entire derby. But obviously, the hometown hero had to win one. So Julio, Seattle guy in T-Mobile Park, was able to move on to the second round. And then Mookie Betts playing in his first home run derby despite a 9-year career versus Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who was in his second. Vlad was able to hit 26 home runs compared to Mookie's 11, the worst showing of the derby. And it makes sense. Mookie Betts, he's a 5-tool player. Yeah, he has power, but when you look at these other guys who have power, it's not going to go Mookie's way. He's a small guy. If you were watching him, he's definitely looked to be the most unlikely home run hitter there. But it was still fun to see Mookie in a home run derby, so good for him. But Vlad moves on. He would face Julio. We would start the second round with Luis Robert Jr. versus Randy Arozarena, and Randy was able to hit 35 home runs as he continued to kind of show off his true power. Luis Robert Jr. was only able to get 22, so Randy was able to move on. Flipping the script, Julio was able to club 20 home runs in his second round, but Vlad was able to get that walk-off home run in some bonus time there. He was able to hit 21 and beat Julio, knocked out the hometown favor, and moved on to the finals. It was him and it was Randy Arozarena, and this was definitely a very exciting, very close matchup. Vladimir went first and hit 25 home runs, and then Randy, towards that end there, it looked like Randy was going to get it, but those last few balls were popped up in the air, did not go, and Vladimir was able to secure it. Randy hit 23 home runs in his finals, and Guerrero Jr. was your home run derby champion, so congratulations to him. It was a lot of fun, all those players there. You get all the interviews. Bobasha had a really funny moment with Soto and Vlad in his first round. Just a lot of fun by all. It's one of those days where players can just kind of sit back, chat with other players and just watch some home runs get hit. It's one of the best events in all of All-Star games, across like NBA and NHL. The home run derby is definitely a favorite by all. It's done well every year, so it was another good one. In total, Vlad hit 72 home runs, the longest being 456 feet, the hardest being 112 miles per hour, and the total distance of all of his home runs combined, 5.56 miles. We do this American style. So congratulations to Vlad. That is your home run derby update there. Not update, I guess recap. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. So congrats to Vlad. Yeah. Now we move to the All-Star game, and the National League looked to snap a 9-game losing streak. They had not won since 2012. Could this be the year? If you watch the game, But yeah, Zach Gallen and Garrett Cole were the guys on the bump. They would start the game there. And this game was full of moments, starting with the very first two batters of the game. Adolis Garcia and Randy Arozarena both made amazing catches to start the game, bailing out Garrett Cole. It was very fun there. So obviously, we started with Marcus Semien. We'll go over the batting lineups quickly. Get those guys who were the starters, their moments there. So Semien batting first, Ohtani second, Arozarena third, Corey Seager fourth, Yandy Diaz fifth, Garcia sixth, Austin Hayes seventh, Josh Jung eighth, and then Jonah Heim 9. That's how the AL stacked up. On the NL side, Acuna led off the game. Freddie Freeman batting second. Mookie Betts batting third. JD Martinez fourth. Arenado fifth. Luis Arias sixth. Sean Murphy seventh. Corbin Carroll eighth. And Orlando Arcia ninth. A great game by all, and it got started in the bottom of the second with Yandy Diaz hitting a home run to put the AL up. In the fourth, Arias singled to tie the game at 1. In the bottom of the sixth, the AL retook the lead on a Bo Bichette sac fly. And then in the top of the eighth, Elias Diaz, the Colorado Rockies catcher, hit a 2-run home run. What a moment for him. That put the NL on top, and it would stay that way. The National League snaps that 9-game losing streak and beat the AL in an all-star game for the first time since 2012. That's a long time ago. You think of all those guys who, were not playing back then and who are in the all-star game today. Definitely, if you haven't seen it, go watch some highlights. Go watch the mic'd up moments. Those are always the best parts. Lourdes Gurriel Jr., he almost hit a home run. Ex-teammates Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. were playing some rock, paper, scissors. Just overall some fun moments. Obviously, the stand up to cancer thing is really beautiful as well. They do. Just a great day, great moments for a lot of these players. Elias Diaz being the MVP of the game, obviously, with that 2-run home run that won it for the National League. It was really exciting. And I don't know. There's not much to say about it. It's just a beautiful game. They do things really well. I love the All-Star Week. It's really just a lot of good entertainment, good television. A lot of great moments. You look at interviews with players and the things that they do, moments before the game, the red carpet walk, all the outfits and everything. It's just wonderful. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen a lot of the stuff there, but good stuff. Good All-Star Week. I feel like I'm saying the same words over and over again. So let's stop with the All-Star Week and start with the second half of baseball. So the first thing I want to mention here is that there was a couple injuries over the All-Star Week, actually. During the Home Run Derby, Luis Robert Jr. felt something and he went for an MRI. Even though he was an All-Star and was supposed to play in the All-Star game, he did not. We're waiting for a reevaluation for him to see if he will be out long-term or not. But unfortunate news for the White Sox there. And then Jordan Romano, he's day-to-day. He was pulled out of the All-Star game after getting 1 out. So hoping he's okay. Blue Jay fans need him as they go to try to have a strong second half here. Things to mention, Oakland Athletics, one of the most notorious bad teams in baseball, the worst team in baseball, actually. They're making a couple moves to be exciting. They're calling both their number 1 and number 3 prospects up to the major leagues for today's games. Their number 1, Tyler Soderstrom, their catcher, as well as Zach Geloff, will both be making their debuts today, most likely, I assume so, against the Twins. So that will be fun for some Oakland fans there as they make the move to Oakland to Las Vegas the next coming years. So, but it's exciting stuff for Oakland there. 2 of their top prospects making the call. So congrats to those guys. Hopefully they have some strong seasons. Obviously they'll have opportunities given how poor Oakland is. So they'll be able to get some at-bats and get some work in the majors. And, it'll kind of is the start of the Oakland rebuild, I guess. They've been tearing down for so long that it's going to be exciting to see a player who could be a future there. Probably not. They'll probably trade him. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So good stuff there for Oakland. And now we've got the first bit of major stuff to go over. The Cardinals GM mentioned that they will be sellers. The Cardinals pretty much are done this season. And, for a franchise that is as rich as theirs, it's really unfortunate to hear. Um, Obviously they have a lot of great moments throughout their franchise, but this was a year that the Cardinals should have run away with the division. The Brewers were kind of middle of the pack, sure. But teams like the Pirates, the Cubs, and the Reds, yeah, they're going to be young and they're going to be good for a long time. A lot of people are surprised, including myself, how good they were already, were this year in this first half. The Pirates' first half started off super strong, but then they fell off hard with that 10-game losing streak in June. So, the Pirates have kind of slipped away from that. But the Reds, who started off slow, have turned it on in a big way. And you can really pinpoint the exact date that started. And that was with the Ellie De La Cruz call-up. He has been phenomenal. But, I mean, for the Cardinals, your team on paper is the best by far. Guys with Goldschmidt, Arenado leading the way. It's really unfortunate if you're a Cardinal fan to hear the news that, hey, you know what? We're going to sell off some players. And that is a fun game for everybody else because it means who's going to go. And the first guy who everyone can say is pretty much gone is Jack Flaherty. He's a free agent next year. He's a pitcher. Like, there's a good chance that come the end of the month, he will be on a different team. There's no doubt about that one in my mind. The big one, that's the fun one, I guess, Paul Goldschmidt. He's a free agent after 2025, so you get him for the rest of this year and another year. He's definitely one of the best first basemen, and if the price is right, the Cardinals could definitely move him. I definitely see that happening. Other guys, Tommy Edman, he's got 2 years left of arbitration and then he becomes a free agent. He is a very good utility guy, very fast, hits for contact. So he could definitely go. A couple other pitchers they have, Miles Mikolas, he's a free agent after the 2026, so you would get him for the rest of this season and then 2 full seasons. I don't know what the Cardinals' plan is here, but if the price is right, Jordan Montgomery, he's a free agent soon, so he's probably going to go. He was traded to them last season for Harrison Bader. Jordan Hicks, one of the elite relievers, just because of how hard he throws. Obviously he's had some hiccups this year, but at the end of the day, talent is talent, and this guy pitches hard. Any team who is a contending team would want him. Paul DeJong is an interesting one. He has a club option for this year. But, I mean, realistically, the Cardinals really don't need that shortstop there. So, he might go somewhere that a team that could use a shortstop. He's had actually a pretty good season when you think of the last couple of seasons where he's kind of fallen off. So, Paul DeJong could be shipped. And then, for a team, they decline the club option and he becomes a free agent. So it's that one's definitely an interesting case here. And another guy, Tyler O'Neill, he is a free agent in 2024, so we would get him for a full season after this year. So we'll see what that brings to the table. The Canadian power bat lefty, had a really strong year in 2021, I believe, or was it last year? But this year has not been too great. But those are definitely some of the guys the Cardinals could end up selling off. It'll be interesting to see that. We'll go through a couple of other possible trade guys. I just kind of, went through the list of free agents. Most of these guys are going to be free agents after the end of this year. And they're on bad teams. So we'll see, kind of go through the list here and give off a couple of my opinions of guys who I think could be shipped out over the next 2 weeks here. So yeah, we'll dive right in on to these guys here. Let's start with some of these Colorado Rockies players. Obviously, the Rockies are the worst team in the NL West, but they do have some interesting options here. CJ Cron is a free agent. Charlie Blackmon, a free agent. Randall Grichuk, Jurickson Profar, their whole outfield there. Those are some guys, who could bring a bat to a contending team. CJ Cron being the big one there. Definitely interesting the stuff there. The White Sox have a couple guys. Lucas Giolito is most likely gone. We heard that the Dodgers were interested in him. Other guys, Tim Anderson is a free agent, so he could find his way out of there. I think the Mariners have an interesting one with Colton Wong. Obviously, they traded for him this season, but he has turned out to be a bust for him. For the Mariners, he has not been playing very well. And although they are a team that could turn it on and could get hot and make playoffs, I think trading away Wong wouldn't be the worst thing for them. Maybe get another MLB ready guy or a potential prospect for them, and be able to bring up someone else who could play second base for them, who could benefit them a lot more than Colton Wong has. So I could see him being moved. The Red Sox, Justin Turner is a free agent after the season, and I mean the Red Sox are right there in the mix with all these other teams. So this one is kind of unlikely, but if the Red Sox have a tough, week, 2 weeks here, and they kind of slip out of the playoff contention, I mean the AL East alone is impressive, but even when you mix in some of those AL West teams, the Red Sox wild card, it's gonna be a uphill climb for them. And if they think that maybe the season's not it, they can trade away Turner, who's had a good season with Boston, so he could definitely move. The Cubs have some guys here. Cody Bellinger being the big one, obviously. We know the Cubs, although they have had some successful games, I think the season's gone the Cubs' way. I think they're better than I thought they were going to be. But obviously, with the Reds there, with the Brewers there, obviously they're not going to get the NL wild card game. So I think the Cubs could find a way to solve some players, Bellinger being a big one there. Kyle Hendricks, he has a club option. So, if they need to get rid of some pitchers, Kyle Hendricks could go. Even Marcus Stroman, who's had a phenomenal year, he has a player option. So that one might be a little bit more tricky. But, I mean, if the Cubs can find the right deal, I don't see a world where Marcus Stroman isn't traded. I think it's definitely a possibility. Some other pitchers, the Mets obviously have some guys. We talked about them a little while ago in a previous episode, but obviously Carlos Carrasco, I definitely see him leaving. He's nothing but a problem from them. He has bad start after bad start, but he has proven himself to be a good pitcher once upon a time with the Indians when they were a thing. Max Scherzer being another interesting option. He's got a player option, but I mean, let's be honest, the Mets didn't have a good first half, and unless they come out and start second half with like a 6-game winning streak, I think Max Scherzer is definitely on the table. Eduardo Rodriguez with the Tigers, he has had a phenomenal first half and then got hurt. He has a player option, so another weird one there, but the Tigers are not doing anything. They could definitely trade Erod, get someone back. Going back to the Mets, Adam Ottavino, another player option guy there. He could definitely go. And lastly here, I want to talk about the Padres a little bit, because they're in the same boat where the Mets are. If they don't get hot quick, they could stop some players. And who better than Josh Hader and Blake Snell, two guys who are elite. Josh Hader, one of the best relieving pitchers. He's a free agent after the season. And Blake Snell has been the best pitcher over the last, month and a bit now. He's been absolutely phenomenal. The Padres could get a nice haul for him if they decide to move him. Of course, that means admitting defeat this season, and I don't know if a team like the Padres, teams like the Mets, are ready to do such things. Other guys that I want to mention quickly here, these guys are not free agents after this year, but could be interesting pieces. Lance Lynn with the White Sox, he's got 2 years left. The Rockies have some guys there like Herman Marquez, Daniel Bard, and Elias Diaz coming off his MVP with the NL All-Stars. Those are all guys who are free agents after the 2024 season, so a year and a half of those guys. So the Rockies could make the moves there. And then obviously the Padres, if you're going to trade Josh Hader, if you're going to trade Blake Snell, might as well trade Juan Soto. He's got a year and a half left in his contract, so he could definitely find a better home and be on a winning team if the Padres choose to do so. But those are some guys who I think could be traded. We'll definitely keep in touch with them all throughout the weeks as they come and go. Who will be moved or not. We'll have all that news for you guys throughout the upcoming 2 weeks here. And this would not be a trade talk without talking about Shohei Ohtani, the new GOAT of MLB. The Angels have options here. And I mean, their team can be good, but like I said, the AL is tough, and to fight for the division, they have to go through the Mariners, the Astros, the Rangers, sure. But now, if you want to fight for the wild card, you have to fight through two of those teams, plus teams like the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, Baltimore. It's going to be tough. And Ohtani is a free agent after this season. If the Angels want to get a pretty package, and let me tell you that if the Angels do decide to trade Ohtani, that package will have some elite prospects in it. They have a couple options, and realistically, two destinations that do make sense for him. And anyone who knows baseball knows these two are high market teams, are the Yankees and the Dodgers. And I mean, if I'm the Angels, if I'm trying to trade Ohtani with the Yankees, Jason Dominguez better be in that trade. Maybe even Anthony Volpe. The Dodgers, I'm not sure who they really have in the farm system, but I think it's interesting. I mean, is there a world where Ohtani can be traded? Absolutely. Is there a world where Ohtani is traded to one of the team that isn't the Yankees or the Dodgers? That I don't know. I truly and strongly believe that if the Angels do decide to move Ohtani, it will be to one of those two teams. I do not see a world where it's any other team. Any other team with like those major prospects don't really need Ohtani. Well, not that they don't need Ohtani. Any team could use Ohtani and just be better. Having Ohtani on your team is better. You're basically getting two players for the price of one. But I mean, are the Reds ready to ship out prospects to go and get him? Pirates, same thing. A team like Oakland definitely have players that could give the Angels, but I mean, what did they go do with Ohtani? Trade him for other players? Like, I do believe that a contending team, when you think of the contenders, the Braves, a lot of their guys are all locked up in already, and as much as they would love to have Ohtani, who do you get rid of? A lot of their young guys now are either on the major league team and are locked up for a long time, or they, are going to trade for other guys and try to bolster their team up that way. Same thing with like a team like the Diamondbacks. If I'm the Angels, if they want Ohtani, I want Corbin Carroll, and if I'm being honest, the Diamondbacks, I would rather have Corbin Carroll, not as like a. Obviously, Ohtani is the better player, but I think Carroll has a lot of upside. You can build the franchise around Corbin Carroll. Ohtani, if you trade Corbin Carroll for Ohtani, it could be for the half of the season, and Ohtani signs somewhere else, right? You have to think it is a half a year rental. 2 months of the greatest player in baseball on your team. A team like the Yankees and the Dodgers, they have the money and they can bring him and re-sign him next season for those long deals. I mean, the Ohtani thing is so interesting. But I do think it's going to be either the Yankees or the Dodgers. I kind of hope it's the Dodgers, a little LA to LA move there, but we'll have to see if the Angels move him, and if so, where to. But I definitely do think the Dodgers or the Yankees are most likely going to be the teams that talk to the Angels for Ohtani, and we'll see what happens with him. Now, I just want to mention my picks, I guess, for the first half awards. I'm sure most people have similar picks. So far, the MVPs will be Shohei Ohtani and Ronald Acuna Jr. The Cy Young winners will be Shane McClanahan and Zach Gallen. And the Rookie of the Years will be Josh Jung and Corbin Carroll. I think Josh Jung needs to hold on. Gunnar Henderson, he got caught, so he's up there as well. But obviously, Jung and Carroll were the All-Stars for a reason, so I think they would be the Rookie of the Years. Shout out to those 6 guys. They've had great first halves, and we'll see which ones can carry it on and continue to have a good full season, I guess. So we'll see if those 6 guys remain the best. Obviously, Cy Young, there's always pitchers that go in and out. I think McClanahan, despite being injured recently, he had a strong enough first half that I think it would be him. Other guys, maybe Fromber even. But I think the NL is a little more interesting because Zach Allen, as good as he's been, a lot of guys have also been extremely good, Spencer Strider being one that comes to mind off the bat. So we'll see who ends up winning awards at the end of the season, but that's who I believe were the best of the best in the first half of the season. Another thing that happened recently, the MLB released their 2024 schedule, and we should go over a couple of the key days that happen. We have 4 international games. We have the Seoul series between the Dodgers and the Padres. We're going back to Mexico City for the Astros and the Rockies. We have the London series again with the Mets and the Phillies, and then we have the Rick Ward Field game between the Giants and the Cardinals. That's on June 20th. The Seoul series is how we start the season with the Dodgers and Padres. That would happen March 20th and March 21st. Mexico City with the Astros and Rockies, April 27th and April 28th. And then the London series between the Mets and the Phillies, June 8th and June 9th. So the Dodgers and Padres will have 2 games under their belt before the traditional opening day, which is March 28th. All 30 teams play that day. And then game 162, September 29th, will be the last day of the regular season. Interesting that it stayed in September this time and didn't move to October. What's more interesting is that there's a couple scheduled doubleheaders, which I always find really interesting. But yeah, obviously, if you're a fan of a baseball team, check out their schedule. It's already released, so you can see which teams are coming to town, when they're coming to town, and be excited for some of those games. I think the Dodgers are heading to New York for the first time in a while. There's a couple of those where it's like teams going to another team for the first time since like 2013 and everything. So yeah, really exciting stuff there. So dive into the 2024 schedules, take a look at them, and get excited for that. So now we're going to end this episode off with our usual stuff here. So we've got our upcoming series to go over. We're starting the second half of baseball. Let's get into it. The Diamondbacks are in Toronto to take on the Blue Jays. Marlins at Oilers. Rays at Royals. Guardians at Rangers. Twins at A's. Tigers at Mariners. Astros at Angels, circle that series. White Sox at Braves. Dodgers at Mets, circle that series. And Padres at Phillies, circle that series. Padres and Mets, you gotta do it. You gotta get hot. Nationals and Cardinals, Red Sox and Cubs, Brewers and Reds, circle that series. The Reds half a game up over the Brewers for the NL Central. Very important series to get started there. Giants at Pirates. And lastly, the Yankees at the Rockies is how we get our second half started. And of course, it would not be a Friday episode without our playoff predictor. So who would be in playoffs and what would be the playoff matchups if it started today? Obviously, the second half does. Duh. But yeah, we start with the 6-seeded Blue Jays against the 3-seeded Guardians. The first time the Guardians are on this list, they have overthrown the Twins for first in the AL Central. The Blue Jays do win that division, that game. And the Astros in the 5 and the Orioles in the 4 face off. Once again, it seems like they're always facing off recently. Orioles win that one. So we head to the ALDS. The Blue Jays at the Rays, and it's an upset. The Blue Jays beat the Rays and head to the championship series, while the Rangers do beat the Orioles in the other game. So we have the Blue Jays and the Rangers in a championship series. I remember these two teams facing off a couple times in the division series in 2015 and 2016. Does changing it up and being in a championship series give the Rangers the win? It does not. The Blue Jays find a way. They beat the Rangers and they head to the World Series. On the NL side of things, you have the Giants and the Reds, which the Reds do beat the Giants. And then the Diamondbacks and the Marlins. Yes, the Diamondbacks are a wild card team. The Dodgers are now first in the NL West. And that game goes to the Marlins. So a couple upsets there. Not upsets, I guess. The 3 and the 4 seeds move on. Reds at Braves. And it is the Reds who upset the Braves. And then the Marlins at the Dodgers. And it's the Marlins that upset the Dodgers. The 1 and 2 seeds get eliminated in the division series. We have the 4-seeded Marlins taking on the 3-seeded Reds in the championship series, and it is the Marlins that beat the Reds and head to the World Series. So we have a Marlins and Blue Jays World Series, and it's the Toronto Blue Jays who end up being your 2023 World Series champions if the season started today. That is going to wrap up this episode. We're back. It is the second half of baseball. Get excited. Trade deadline approaching. We're going to have a lot to go over in the next couple of weeks and so stick with us. Pretty happy. So I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just flush with emotions right now. If you are new, you liked what you heard in this episode, feel free to subscribe, like the videos, comment, support me. It helps me out a bunch. And yeah. So get ready for the second half of the season. We're entering the dog days of the summer. Baseball is back. There will be no more days off of baseball until the last day of the season. But yeah, so enjoy your week of baseball, and I will see you guys Monday.